Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and producer Zack Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game. Zack's a little fiery today. He's kind of upset.
You call him the best producer in the game on the show, and then you're constantly correcting what he does. Is he the best or isn't he?
I mean, Jack, you see what goes on.
But you can be the best and always have room for improvement.
Yeah, he's a producer. Zack's a great producer.
Producer Zack, I'll tell you, hold out. When I held out, they gave me a league-leading contract. You just need to hold out a little.
That was fake money.
Producer Zack deserves the money he gets.
What food does producer Zack have today? We have a nice bowl with avocado, corn, rice, spicy tuna, and avocado.
This is why there's a camera on him.
Zack, what are the chances that bowl puts you on the toilet bowl later on?
Probably in 30 minutes.
No,
30 minutes.
Well, producer Zack is here chowing down
in his same sweatshirt.
In his same sweatshirt. We placed the line on what producer Zack's sweatshirt would be when he came down here. Zack, why don't you show it? Why don't you show it to everyone?
This is insane.
We put the line at plus 150 that Zack would be in the Americana Jiu-Jitsu black sweatshirt for the fourth consecutive day.
It should have been minus like 150,000.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored.
You
look good. I think you look good.
Oh, it looks good,
Wear a sweatshirt
Jack.
one time and you're like, well, I'm done for the day.
I think it looks good.
I think it looks good. I've worn this.
Let's stop arguing. Paul, am I correct that we've got some big news to share?
Yeah, we do have some big news to share. Yes, we absolutely do. Huge news. We will be going to the NFL draft. We're very excited to announce that we'll be at the NFL draft. Not sure how long the trip's going to be, but right now it looks like it might be a lengthy amount of time that we'll be in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Little meet and greet.
Having some fun, maybe a meet and greet. Say hello to some players. Jack can meet Jaxson Dart maybe in person.
I can drink a Wisconsin.
It's going to be a Lambeau Field. Yeah, I mean, it'll get some pictures by the Packers Stadium. I mean, who knows what we'll be doing in those pictures to the Packers Stadium. But
I mean, we got the credentials. We got everything. We're going to be there. We're good. And it is all thanks to our fans.
It's time to go. Time to go to the NFL draft. Yeah, we're very excited. We didn't think it was going to happen, but now
we'll find Ziggy some Wisco girl, right?
Maybe the girl having a bratwurst, putting down a beer, bring Ziggy over and let him talk some philosophy.
Yeah.
There's got to be some philosophy majors out there at in Wisconsin that you could hit it off with.
I know some people in Wisconsin doing philosophy. It's not where I'd be. Maybe
some long lost lovers, Ziggy? Perchance. We got to get the Ziggy Hinge game. Maybe we don't, actually.
Rekindle the flame.
The Ziggy Hinge was a prime moment in this show. But anyway, we will be at the draft. We're very excited. If you're going to be in Green Bay or around the area, let us know. Tell us a bar that we should go to. We'd love to do a meet and greet with anyone who's around. We're just going to have some fun, talk some football, and probably drink a few beers. It'll be a great time in Milwaukee, in Green Bay. So yeah, let us know if you're going and what your plans are, and we'll see if we can meet up with anybody. I can't wait. Give us some recommendations. Today, though, maybe even bigger news than us going to the draft for this show is the Robert Ziggy Ziegler mock draft V1 is out today. The 1.0 mock draft for Ziggy. Well, everyone's very excited. This has been Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, Field Yates. These guys, they've been working for months. They've been putting out draft after draft. But I know that all of them sit around and they're waiting for this mock draft to come out so they can make amendments.
Dane Brugler's Beast draft guide just dropped. And, you're going to see that on the desks of coaches and scouts. But the Robert Ziggy Ziegler draft board, that's going to be on the projector. That's what everybody around the NFL is talking about. Who does Ziggy think we should take? That's
when they're going to cut to Minnesota and you're going to see Kwesi Adofo-Mensah jump to cover the board. But it's basically just going to be what you see here today from Mr. Ziegler. So,
some people are saying the reason we're going to the draft is so Robert Ziggy Ziegler can give us draft intel to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah person.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's true, but some people are saying that.
What do we do if Ziggy goes 32 for 32 here?
Oh, if that happens, then I think this show goes to, well, maybe not us, but Ziggy goes through the stratosphere of sports media personalities.
Would you bring us along
out again? There's going to be a lengthy holdout.
There's a lengthy 100%.
I don't know if we can afford at that point.
No, at that point, it gets a little too rich for our blood. And we'll wish Ziggy success, and then we'll watch him. That rocket ship is going somewhere else.
That's when we start selling off pictures of him to make money.
Yeah, that's when we have the Only Zigs.
Yeah.
Only Zigs comes out, and we just try and profit off of our friendship with Ziggy.
Only Zigs.
Only Zigs. Yeah, the t-shirts. Gosh, that could be a great t-shirt. Only Zigs. It's horrible.
A picture of an eggplant.
All right. So Ziggy mock draft 1.0 is out. the way we're going to do this here is we're going to go, because this is the best way the graphic could look. We're going to go 5 picks at a time. We're going to run through them, and Ziggy's going to read out his picks, 1 through 5, then 6 through 10. And then Jack and I will ask him some questions. We'll have some discussions about those selections. And I'm telling you guys, stick around for the whole thing because Ziggy has trades. He has drama. I mean, this is high form entertainment here as far as mock drafts go. I had a thoroughly great time putting together these graphics, watching Ziggy's mock draft. I mean, this guy's the best. Like, this is why we pay him top dollar.
If you need some comedic relief, that's what I'm here.
And Jack's here for comedic relief. Believe it or not, though, Jack is studied up for this show. Jack came down here and said, I gave a good effort here. So he knows what he's talking about.
I gave my best effort.
And this is going to be a high level show tonight, guys.
I had a 30-minute lunch break and I was grinding in the car.
Yeah, he was grinding. All right. Let us know in the comment section if you believe that this will be a high quality show. Let's get into it right now, Ziggy.
With producer Zack.
Take us through. Yeah, take us through your first 5 picks as we show it on the screen.
So the first 5 picks, I think the players are pretty obvious, but there's some excitement here. So number 1 and number 2, I think, are basically decided. We've got Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, going to the Tennessee Titans. Not much to say there. Similarly, I think everybody's expecting Travis Hunter to go to the Browns. But you'll notice if you look at pick number 3,
that's big.
That's the Chicago Bears. I've got the Chicago Bears trading up. They're sending the Giants number 10, number 39, and a 2025 third-round pick. And they're moving up to take Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Number 4, this is where the action really starts. I think there's 3 players off the board. I got the Patriots not solidifying their offensive line like everybody thinks, but taking Mason Graham, the stud defensive tackle out of Michigan. And rounding it out, we've got the Jaguars sticking with the Michigan picks, taking Will Johnson.
Ziggy, you're a funny guy.
Back-to-back Wolverines there for Ziggy.
Yeah, Ziggy, you're a funny guy because you have the Bears trading up 7 spots to pair Montez Sweat with Abdul Carter, and you go, pick number 4 here is really where the action starts with Mason Graham going to the Patriots.
Obviously, that's a huge move for the Bears, but I mean, I think everybody's expecting these to be picks 1 through 3 in this order. Well, so it's interesting how the Bears get there, but I don't think it's a shock Abdul Carter's going at 3. But a lot of people don't have Mason Graham going at 4.
Well, Ziggy, so you're saying the Giants trade with Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Is the Giants trading down and like not taking Shedeur something to do with them getting Russell Wilson? Like, what was the behind that?
So we'll see when we get there. This is going to cost the Giants their chance at Shedeur Sanders in my mock draft. But I think that for a lot of teams, probably including the Giants, we're hearing a lot that many teams Jaxson Dart to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is probably the higher floor guy. But people are wondering whether he's the player that can lead a mediocre franchise to huge success. We'll talk much more about those 2 when we get there, but they might be taking a quarterback at number 10. But I think those 2 are a lot closer to each other than, say, Abdul Carter is. But I think the Giants really need a defensive, or the Bears really need a defensive end, and the Giants really need a quarterback. So I think for that kind of compensation, number 39 and a 3rd-round pick next year, it makes sense for both teams here. Okay. The Giants get to stockpile talent and still get a quarterback. The Bears get to get Abdul Carter and let loose the dogs of war on their defensive line.
So the compensation, yeah, that would be a ferocious front. Same with Clark.
NFC North fans can say I'd be terrified of that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's the funny thing about Cleveland. And I guess if Chicago were to wind up picking, or even the Giants take Abdul Carter, all 3 of those teams have a beast defensive end already. The Giants have Burns. The Browns have Garrett. The Bears have Montez Sweat. So it's kind of interesting seeing these mock drafts. Now, yours is the only one I've seen with the Bears making this move up, although there's been rumors of that potentially. Bless you.
Oh, thanks.
But it is interesting seeing the teams that Abdul Carter has been getting drafted to and mocked to a lot already have a beast. So, and how many pairs like that do we have? Can anyone name one in the NFL that would be better? Like Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard is probably the best duo last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, indeed, a lot of teams, if you count defensive tackle, the Eagles are really, really great on the whole defensive line, but those would, I think, be the 2 best players on any defensive line.
Whoa. Don't forget, if Bradley Chubb and Phillips weren't hurt, they'd be amazing.
What, last year or the year before that? Both of them?
They were hurt both years.
I feel bad for you, Zach.
Chop Robinson played pretty well, though. So.
Great name.
What if Cleveland went and took and took Abdul Carter here and had Myles Garrett on Abdul Carter. Why not that?
See, I think that makes a lot of sense, but I try to be as realistic as I can in this draft. And all the reporting says they've fallen in love with Travis Hunter. And I can see why. In terms of raw talent, Travis Hunter is the best player in the draft, I think by a significant margin. And he's got, obviously, there's positional flexibility, but the Browns just need the best player they can get regardless. Abdul Carter's got that foot injury. He has to grow a little bit. If you need a player to produce grow day one and be an all-pro, that's Travis Hunter.
So one other question I had about the Browns in this, and I think that this is one that really hasn't been talked about recently. Shedeur Sanders has to still be brought up in their discussions, right? Like Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are the guys that everyone's saying are going to be the decision for Cleveland, but Shedeur has to still be in that conversation.
Like, what are they? They're rolling with Watson still, right? That's the plan.
No, Watson's out. He's hurt. He's at the Achilles.
Who's
Kenny Pickett,
right?
Yeah,
Pickett.
Pickett. So I just don't understand why no one's talking about Shedeur Sanders going to Cleveland when they're in this Watson cap hell. There's no one really that's coming in to save them anytime soon, and I don't think they'll be picking. Like their hope is to not be picking in the top 5 next year. But if they have Kenny Pickett play this year, that they probably will. I'm not sure if Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, their coach and GM, I'm not sure if they make it to next season. If they don't get a new quarterback.
Well, Pickett's a Super Bowl champ.
Here we go. Here we go.
Let's give him his flowers here. He's a good quarterback.
So Ziggy, the question I have for you is, I know that you said it seems they've fallen in love with Travis Hunter, but when you were doing this, I know you said it's the flavor of this mock draft. It's a little bit of your opinion as well as what you expect what will happen. Would Shedeur Sanders be someone you would want the Browns to take if you were a Browns fan?
I am not sold on either of these quarterbacks. And I think taking the rookie quarterback, if you're the Browns here, is just a disaster. You're not going to be they're in a weird position where they need production now out of the quarterback position, but also don't have a very good team. I mean, the receiving core is a mess. The defense has some good players on it, but it needs to improve. There's just a lot going on there. I understand the argument they should take a quarterback because maybe they can convince Haslam that, we took a quarterback, give us more time. If they need to do that to save their job, fine. But no, I don't think it makes sense. I think taking quarterbacks is really, really important, but you also have to consider player talent. Travis Hunter is one of the most exciting players to come out of the draft in a long time. And the Browns desperately need both a receiver and a cornerback. He works hard. He plays hard. I think a high-level receiver can be a difference maker if you have a mediocre quarterback on offense. That's more likely to give them a functional offense this year than taking a rookie quarterback and just hoping they can make it work with nothing around them. No, I don't think they should be taking a quarterback here.
Okay. And then
again, the only way the Browns will be good in the next few years, I guess there just isn't a way. So take a good player and move on with your life.
Yeah, I mean, if their thinking there would be, let's take Travis Hunter, a freak athlete, hope he pans out what we hope, what his ceiling is, and Kenny Pickett can be average and Hunter's great, something like that, right?
I guess I don't know what the vision is at quarterback for them moving forward. It's such a mess that this feels like at least an opportunity if they took Shedeur for Kevin Stefanski, who's had a lot of success with pocket passers and less mobile guys. Think about Stefanski in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins, the success he had with Flacco just a couple of years ago on that playoff run. This seems like a spot where you could perhaps secure a little bit more longevity in Cleveland and also give them some hope. Where Hunter's amazing, I just don't know if that's going to get them out of this. And Shedeur probably won't, but he at least gives you a chance. That's why I'm thinking at least the conversation should still be happening in Cleveland for Shedeur. But Ziggy, I totally get where you're coming from given all the reports.
I got one more here for Ziggy.
Yeah. This is what happens when Jack.
Right.
Jack does a little research, and it's just the questions flow out of him.
Oh yeah, see this is only 30 minutes of research too. And Ziggy, your opinion, right? So let's say the Browns don't take Travis Hunter, which it seems like they probably will, but they go with Shedeur. They go with their quarterback. If Travis Hunter's there at 3, do the Giants still trade with the Bears?
I think that's an interesting question.
Do the Giants go and take Travis Hunter?
I think if that's what happens, actually, I think that the Giants will take Travis Hunter and the Bears will be eyeing a trade of the Patriots. I really like Mason Graham as a prospect. I think as a player, he makes a lot of sense for what Mike Vrabel wants to do. But I know the Patriots fans, the like two we have that watch the show, shout out John Maher, are going to be yelling.
Is it two?
They should be getting an offensive lineman here. I don't like Will Campbell or Membu up here, but I think at like 10, there's a chance you can get one of them and it's better. So while I think they'd be really excited to take Mason Graham, I think they'd be happy with what the Bears were offering and move back there. I would expect the Giants to take Travis Hunter if he's available.
I did have that question about the Patriots going O-line. Okay, so that makes sense with your logic there.
Like two birds at one stone.
Mason Graham, I think the gap between him and like the Carter or Hunter tier is very small. He plays one of the most important positions in the NFL, pass rushing defensive tackle. And you look at the complaints, and the complaints are like, well, he could stand to lose a little bit of weight. He's a little bit too small. I mean, he's really fast. He needs to become a little bit better at navigating traffic. But like, that's it. He's an incredible player.
He's short, fat, and can't move.
I mean, that's what people are going to say. What it is he's 6'4", 305, and one of the fastest players in the draft for his size.
Yeah, no, I know everyone who evaluates him loves him, and they say that this should be a high floor.
This guy played 5 sports in high school, Paul. This guy knows how to move.
Can I guess the sports?
I don't know the sports.
Baseball, basketball, football. It's
you got to think that the Jaguars at 5 are kind of pounding the table, upset if Mason Graham goes at 4 to New England, because that's I've seen every single mock draft have the Jaguars nailing that pick with Mason Graham. So they wind up going Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan. I think I do like that pick, Ziggy, because Will Johnson's someone who I've seen multiple people now, and I was listening to Joel Klatt the other day. He said if Will Johnson had stayed healthy, what are you laughing at? You don't like Joel Klatt?
No, go ahead.
He was just saying if Will Johnson had stayed healthy, this was perhaps a top 5 prospect, top 3 prospect for him heading into this draft. And it seems like recently he's been rising up draft boards. I mean, this is, now to a top 5 pick with the expert of mock drafts. So an interesting Will Johnson selection as well.
Yeah, the thing about Will Johnson, just as a prospect, I mean, you want to see him play a little bit smarter and a little bit harder. I don't really blame him on that Michigan team for Deion Sandersing it a little bit and not putting his best effort tackling. You'd also like to see him play a little bit smarter. But when he plays his best, he's physical. I love cornerbacks that are former receivers, guys that know how to get at the ball. He can play zone very, very well. He's a great athlete. He's going to be very good at handling both tight ends and some of the bigger wide receivers that you see dominating the NFL. But what I was laughing at, I was looking through my notes, and one of the things I wrote down, during draft season, people just start saying the craziest stuff. Like, as I was pulling up Dane Brugler's draft guide earlier today, he said, here's one of the big pros of Will Johnson. He asked for Charles Woodson's number 2 because he wanted extra motivation to be great. And my reaction is, no disrespect, Dane does the best work in the industry, but like, who cares? Really? Like this, every single mock draft season and the NFL draft too, people sort of forget these guys are being brought in to play football, and they start caring about all of these things that aren't playing football.
That's character, Ziggy. That's character.
Yeah, but it's stuff like that is irrelevant. Here's what's relevant. Can he play cornerback well? Yes. Well, so I like him here. The Jaguars really need a corner. You just hope that they can figure it out on offense.
Ziggy, you ever seen Draft Day?
One of the most hilarious movies ever. I love that movie. I watch it every year. It's so unrealistic, but it's so fun.
Callahan fell. His attitude, I mean, he wasn't liked.
Yeah, it's none of his teammates showed him to his birthday.
Right. Yeah. He's ready to go on to 6 through 10.
All right, let's go 6 through 10 here. The 6 through 10 selections. All right, we got some action here. Go ahead, Ziggy. Take it away.
So 6 through 10. This is where you start seeing picks that people really aren't going to like. The Raiders, I've got taking Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. A little run on tackles here begins. The Jets take Membu out of Missouri. The Panthers take Jalen Walker out of Georgia. I think they're really excited about that. That's a player of a lot of potential who sort of fell into them because the Raiders and the Jets both desperately need the offensive line. The Saints at number 9.
Here we go.
Make their move for quarterback. Derek Carr is not the guy of the future. They take Shedeur Sanders. And the Giants, executing their plan to perfection, take the guy they wanted all along at 10 and pick up Jaxson Dart, quarterback out of the University of Mississippi.
I cannot wait to go down some beers in Green Bay with Jaxson Dart after he gets drafted.
And then with this one, you could fly home with him too.
Oh yeah,
Fly back into Newark with Jaxson Dart.
Dart's my guy. I mean, if this pans out, like if Ziggy, if I understand where this comes from, because I do think that Jaxson Dart is probably going to be a better quarterback than Shedeur, and you can trade down and get him at 10.
You've been calling it. You've been calling this all offseason.
Ziggy, I guess we're on the same wavelength now.
Jaxson Dart and Armand
I'll tell
Membu.
you this, Jack. I will tell you this. I've been really critical of Jaxson Dart through the entire draft process. I was saying he was Matt Corral round 2. He just wasn't a guy who was going to be able to get it done in the NFL. He was a product of the system. And you have to look past that a little bit. But first of all, I was able to see instances where he made some great full field progressions. I mean, obviously you want to see him do it more at the NFL level, but it was something he was able to do. And second, his deep ball, I think, is the best in the class. You see a lot of NFL offenses these days want to push it downfield. And you know Malik Neighbors is going to love getting the deep ball from him. Aaron Rodgers was losing that. What are you laughing at, Paul?
Sorry.
Zach's up to something here. I don't know what Zach's
I mean, here's the thing about Jaxson Dart. I will say this. This guy is tough. And more importantly, I think, remember when he lost Trey Harris?
Yes.
Nothing happened. He kept playing. He beat
man.
Eli Manning's single season passing record after losing his number 1 guy. That's incredible.
Sorry, producer Zach was like moving around behind the scenes, and he just looked so uncomfortable moving his legs. He was just talking to himself. It's like he's frustrated. All right, I'm so sorry about that, Jaxson Dart. Go ahead, Jack. This is your guy.
Well, I heard it all. Like I heard that whole Dart spiel.
I mean, the way he throws the ball, those sidearms, it's Mahomes-esque. He's going on Mahomes' mountain.
No, he's the next Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
okay, that's a lot.
I watched this guy who was scoring 73 points a game in college. It was beautiful.
Okay, so
I see the Matt Corral comparisons. Like people are saying that, but I do believe Matt Corral getting hurt in the bowl game just ruined his entire career. That didn't happen with Dart.
And I'm not dunking on him for this, but he had some real mental health issues too that limited his ability to succeed in the NFL.
I think it makes sense here with New Orleans as well going Shedeur, because the Saints are a team thinking about what New Orleans is going to do. There's so many different routes that they have, but I kind of like where your head's at, Ziggy, because if I'm a Saints fan, the Saints have to be in one of the strangest, probably the most undesirable positions of all teams in the NFL right now, because you have the whole Derek Carr situation there, who's good enough where you're probably not picking top 5, but again, they were bad last year, and they're
not getting any better. They're still in cap hell.
They're cap hell. They're older. I mean, there's a lot of things about the Saints that you would not be jealous of if you're a fan of another team. So I think that this year with Shedeur makes sense, because where else are they going, right? There's not another top tier prospect that you're looking at. Like, do you want them to take Mykel Williams? Do you want them to take Tyler Warren? They have a ton of tight ends, including Zack's guy, Juwan Johnson. They don't have a stud tight end, but I don't think any of that really moves the needle for them. And I'm just going through other prospects here. So if you're sitting there at 9, you could trade back. And I think that that's an interesting situation that New Orleans would have if someone sees Shedeur Sanders falling or someone loves Jaxson Dart. Maybe you can move back and get one of those edge rushers later. But this is a move that you could sit Shedeur and have Derek Carr play. Probably going to be bad again, but at least you have the future there that you can build upon. So I like the pick of quarterback for the Saints. And as you guys were saying for the Giants, I think they also are in desperate need of something new.
Well, the Shedeur Sanders Jaxson Dart debate, people are acting like there's no debate here, but I think these are two very, very different kinds of players. Shedeur Sanders coming out reminds me a lot of a slightly worse Bo Nix. Like, I think Sean Payton would be all over this guy. He can make good throws. He's really great in rhythm. He's generally a smart player, at least when it comes to throwing the ball. But for most teams, I think the weaknesses and the problems are going to be a lot bigger than those positives. He's not big. He's not fast. He doesn't have a great arm. He takes terrible sacks. I mean, you saw this in that bowl game, right? But if you go back and watch the tape, you can see it all throughout the season. Like, Paul, we saw this with Sam Darnold. Plays where you absolutely, going in, you say there's one outcome we cannot have, and it's a sack or a turnover.
Oh, yeah.
Shedeur Sanders won't throw an interception, but he will take sacks. And I don't think he's a good enough athlete to get away with how long he held the ball in the NFL.
Well, that's where you're
Caleb
hoping.
Williams, that was his big problem coming out, holding the ball too much, taking big sacks. But Caleb Williams was such an incredible playmaker that you could justify it. Shedeur Sanders does not have those playmaker strengths. So I think the NFL is going to be a rough adjustment. So I like that the Saints can sit him.
Is Cam Jordan or anything left? Or is
He's
I mean, every old player you've ever heard of is on that roster getting paid $50 million.
No, I know he's back, but is that anything? Does he still have
the Saints
anything?
are a graveyard.
Yeah, I think that it's
They have one player under the age of 35 on their roster. It's Chase Young and Chris Olave. I apologize. I didn't mean disrespect Chris Olave.
So New Orleans has to be a fun city, but that's got to be a nightmare to be drafted there right now.
Well, this is the thing. If you get the young quarterback and it works out, it can turn around pretty quick.
I mean, Sanders to Olave, yeah.
And you know what I like, Ziggy, about if Shedeur does wind up in New Orleans is you talked about how he's, not the strongest arm in the world, more of a touch passer, accurate. You're playing in a dome down in New Orleans. If you go to the Browns or you go to the Giants, you're in cold weather, winds whipping around. For someone like Shedeur, probably a better environment too for his arm.
He's been in Colorado.
I don't want to make too big a deal. I don't buy too into. Look,
no, I mean he doesn't have a terrible arm, but it's not Jaxson Dart. There's one more thing I want to say about these picks, and then I think we can move on.
No, I do have one big question about these picks.
Is it about the Raiders?
Yeah, where's Ashton Jeanty?
So everybody's got Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders, I think, and I can understand why. He's an electric talent. But the Raiders' number one need, they have a horrible running back room. That's true. I really thought Zeus White was going to be the guy. He was not the guy. It's bad. But the Raiders, even worse than their running back room, is their offensive line. And this isn't just an Ashton Jeanty needs a great offensive line take, though I think a good offensive line is really important with a running back. This is a Geno Smith needs a functional offensive line. And Pete Carroll knows this. The Raiders' offensive line, top to bottom, is one of the worst in the NFL. People are trying to convince me that it's close to league average. It is not close to league average. It is bad. There's some Raiders fans in here. I'm curious what you will think, but I think they desperately need talent on the offensive line. And the knock on Will Campbell is maybe he will have to play guard. I think there's a good chance he can play tackle because he's such a good athlete and he's so quick at moving that I think this can make up for the arm length. But even if he has to become a guard, the Raiders need talent on the offensive line so badly that I just think at the end of the day, Pete Carroll is going to come in, make the responsible pick, not the exciting pick, but the pick that will actually help the Raiders win games next year. And that's offensive line.
The more that I'm looking into this with the Raiders pick, the more and more, whether it's right or wrong, I'm pretty confident that they'll take Ashton Jeanty. When you think about Pete Carroll and what he established in Seattle, the Marshawn Lynch, great running back. He wants to win now. Ashton Jeanty's everyone's highest graded player. You could argue he's the third blue chip prospect in this draft as far as pure athletes go and impact that they can have next season. The expectations are sky high for Jeanty. Now, I'm not saying I disagree with your pick, Ziggy, but I believe that Ashton Jeanty will be selected by the Raiders at 6. I mean, you opt to go.
I really don't think so. I genuinely believe Pete Carroll's going to put his foot down and take off.
Sure. I mean, if you want to take Tyrannosaurus Campbell, you could go ahead and select him.
It's half an inch. He's the fastest offensive lineman in the draft.
No, I'm kidding. There's no shade.
Half an inch, not a big deal if you know how to use it.
Wouldn't you?
Good Lord.
Wouldn't you rather like?
Did he say you should know?
Wouldn't you rather draft like 7 offensive linemen and just roll with Raheem Mostert?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Why not just boost and beef that O-line and Mostert's fine?
Oh, no. I like it. And no shade at Will Campbell. I actually think if I were the Patriots, I would take him at 4 if you can't get Hunter Abdul Carter. I think he's awesome. I don't understand that. Again, I'm not a scout. Apparently, arm length is absurdly important, but I mean,
it's arm length matters up to a point.
You're good.
You can make up for arm length. It's
good.
proportional to how quick you are.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be very good. Tyrannosaurus Campbell, I just had to get that out. Kenny
Pickett got hand size knocks and he won a Super Bowl.
And look at him, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
So you can't
Super Bowl winning quarterback. So yes, I do. I am a fan of that. And you know what you can also do too? If you take one of the linemen here, this is where it all depends on how much do you like Ashton Jeanty more. You could go and get someone like Judkins in the second round.
This draft
there's
is
a
full
lot of
great
running backs. So
Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson. There's so many good running backs here.
How about them Raiders?
yeah, look at that.
Devin White, Jeremy Chin, and my boy Landon Roberts from the Berg.
All right,
Yeah, like if I'm the Raiders, I'm taking tackle in the first round, guard in the second round, running back in the third round, and taking that all to the bank.
Was there any chance, this is just for 10 seconds here, was there any chance you went Tyler Warren for the Jets? I've seen some people mock him there.
I think the Jets are rebuilding. They're not a Tyler Warren destination, but some of this is just I don't understand the infatuation with tight ends in the first round.
Got it.
But no, I think the Jets, Tyler Warren is not what they need. They need competency.
I'm very confident Armand Membu is going to be a New York Jet. That's or Will Camp. I think they'll go line. All right, let's move on to 11 through 16 here. 15, sorry. 11 through 15 in the NFL draft. Ziggy, start us off with the San Francisco 49ers.
So the San Francisco 49ers are adding that defensive line, bringing in Michael Williams, edge out of Georgia. Finally, Ashton Jeanty is picked. He's going to, I think, the ultimate Ashton Jeanty destination. He's going to Dallas. He's going to Geraldland. Number 13, you might be surprised to see the Dolphins taking a wide receiver. A trade you can't see in this mock draft because it doesn't involve a first-round pick. I think Tyreek Hill is gone. I do not think he will be returning to the Miami Dolphins. So they are going to be drafting certainly not a one-to-one replacement, but a wide receiver that Tua can get the ball to, and Teteroa McMillan out of Arizona. Tyler Warren, I think this is the most obvious destination for him, is slotting into the Colts, who are feeling very, very happy that they were able to pick him up. And finally, the Falcons, after losing Grady Jarrett, are re-solidifying the defensive line, taking Mike Green out of Marshall.
Yeah, the Falcons need to do something there. Okay, why don't we start with Jeanty here? So Jeanty joins up with CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott gives them another weapon. Everyone's been begging Dallas to draft a running back for 2 years now. This is the second year. I think there
might be a riot if Jeanty is on the board and they don't take him.
Yeah, they would be pretty pumped up if and that would be the right pick too, I believe, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, last time
you're going to Javonte Williams.
Oh, how do you stop that?
Thunder and lightning. Well, look, last time, again, this goes against my little theory, but last time the Cowboys seemed to have a great run game with Zeke. They seemed a lot more 3D and dominant than we've seen in recent years, and a lot tougher to stop as well.
Yeah, I think if Jeanty's not on the board, I expect the Cowboys to go wide receiver. This offense is just bare bones. They do not have talent in there. I mean, they've got Dak, they've got CeeDee. Those are great players, but outside of that, there's nobody doing anything. They desperately need another player to go with CeeDee Lamb because they're locked into Dak Prescott for a few years. They can't move off that. And when there's good guys around him, Dak's, I truly believe, can still be one of the best facilitators in the NFL. And he can make some big plays, but you need talent. And I think Jeanty could be a game changer on the Cowboys.
So, Ziggy, let's say, and I know you're pretty adamant that the Raiders will take a big boy up front, but if the Raiders do take Jeanty and Dallas is picking here at 12, do you think they're in then on McMillan or maybe Ibuka?
So I don't think it'll be between McMillan and Ibuka. I think McMillan is clearly better than Ibuka at the kinds of things they want to do. I will say, though, I think the gap between McMillan and Matthew Golden out of Texas is not as big as people think. And I think with Golden's speed and route running, I think he could play really, really well next to CeeDee Lamb. I would not be shocked to see that pick either.
Could you possibly
Texas
see
guy too.
Omari Hampton moving up there? I've seen a lot of people starting to talk about Omari Hampton as a top 15 pick.
I do not think Hampton has that level of talent. I think he's a complete player, which I like. I never like taking players in the first round that you might have to take off the field because they're limited. He can play passing downs. He can play running downs. He can start. But I think the gap between Hampton and guys like Caleb Johnson out of Iowa or even Travion Henderson is not all that big. Whereas once you get past McMillan and Golden, I think this wide receiver class is tough. All of those guys left have big question marks to me.
So you would have Dallas probably going receiver then if Jeanty's off the board.
They are going to add an offensive weapon in the first round. I could even potentially see it being Colston Loveland, who, as we'll see, I don't have getting picked in the first round. We'll get why there at the end. But the Cowboys are going to draft a skill position player in round 1, period.
I mean, just look at the rest of their division right now with the weapons and the offensive firepower that the Eagles have and the Commanders have, and then in Dallas, you look at CD, and it's about as good as it gets. But then, there's just the cupboard is pretty bare in Dallas right now. So real quickly, Michael Williams to the 49ers. Yep, they have to replenish the 2 lines after this offseason. Totally get that.
Williams is a great player.
Yeah, a great player. The Falcons, Mike Green, the leader in sacks this year in college football with 17 for Marshall. Doesn't have quite the measurables of some of the guys like your boy Jack, Shamar Stewart. He's bigger.
Who's he playing against? Bowling Green? And
well, that's the thing. This is the question of production versus potential. And Mike Green had the most production of any edge rusher in this draft. And the Falcons, this was a fun stat here. Since 2019, every team in the NFL has at least 198 sacks. The Steelers lead the league with 292, except for Atlanta, who has 169, who's also the fewest or the lowest QB pressure rate in that stretch of time as well. So Atlanta's been begging for an edge rusher.
And they've been with Jarrett leaving, they need a leader on that defensive line. Now, I know nobody's really talking about this, but I remember this when he was recruited to UVA. Mike Green does have some character concerns. We made him sign a zero tolerance policy on sexual assault when he got here, but there haven't been any real concerns since. He's been an incredibly effective player in college, and at least what coaches say, he's a guy who's a leader in the room. And I think he could be part of building a new culture in Atlanta.
Well, I mean, I have no comments on the
Tyler Warren's the next Dallas Clark.
I mean, the Colts need a tight end.
I'm just
you know what I like about Tyler Warren too, and I haven't heard this comparison at all, but I think he's got a little bit of that Travis Kelce feel to him in that he's kind of, he can throw the ball, you can put him in the backfield, like he's got that kind of wild card playmaker once the ball's in his hands, kind of a guy. And
he's great at running. Did you see that?
Oh my
People
gosh,
forget
dude.
He averaged 9 yards a carry at Penn State.
Dude, I remember watching USC Penn State.
He's a flat out beast.
We were watching that, and I can't remember. I can't remember at that point in the year if we were all aboard the Tyler Warren trade, or if that was the game.
That was the coming out party.
And we were just like, I mean, we knew he was very good, but we were watching that game going, holy crap, this guy is like,
I had no clue who he was before that game.
A freak. And then we saw him in person in the Notre Dame game, and it's just, I mean, the guy's unbelievable at football. You just want someone.
Whoever ends up with him is going to be happy.
Well, that's why he might go as high as 7. It looks like.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I'll just say this. How many times have we heard the story of the perfect tight end prospect taken early in the first round? It almost never works out. Brock Bowers is really the only exception to that since Tony Gonzalez. No, seriously, you can go back and look at the first round tight ends. None of them have been productive on their second contract with their team. Most of them never even make it there. I understand.
Well, Kyle Pitts is breaking out this year.
Yeah, sure. Kyle Pitts has been breaking out. He's been a breakout candidate for 3 years.
Kincaid had a good year.
Yeah, Dalton Kincaid put up, 500 yards?
Well, Kincaid's about to have the greatest season in tight end history.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happens, right? People buy the talent.
Heath Miller.
The tight end you draft in the first round will be a great player on another team.
Third year Kincaid is different.
Heath Miller.
Zach, any comments on Tedero McMillan to the Dolphins? Would you be happy with that?
That's just not happening. That's not happening.
Why? What's wrong with that?
Because we're just going to go O-line.
See, the Dolphins are a team that I haven't really looked too far into.
I mean, our O-line is.
Here's the problem: that your O-line's not good, but there's nobody with decent talent on the O-line left for you at that pick. Ted McMillan is so much better than the rest of these guys.
But this is how I think about it, right? It's inevitable we have to blow it up, right? And if you're going to blow it up, at least start with the O-line to rebuild. Don't start with
a wide receiver in the position that Tua's gone. Then yeah, maybe so.
No, I don't care where Tua could still be playing. I don't really give a shit. But if you're going to rebuild, at least rebuild with some helpfulness. A wide receiver is not going to be very helpful.
I love that I'm looking at Dolphins team needs. I see offensive line, defensive line, safety, cornerback, tight end. And then Ziggy has him trading Tyreek Hill, which would make receiver a massive need. The Dolphins, is there a chance that this season Miami's just dreadful?
Yes.
I don't know if I there's a chance, but I don't think it happens
we
with
are
Tua.
dreadful. I don't know where this like thing is that we're like incredible. Like
No,
do people
no one's
have,
saying
like,
you're
blinders on.
No one's saying you're incredible.
Like just because we have Tyreek Hill, we're now like the greatest team to ever live.
Here we go.
Like I love the Dolphins and I love them. But it's like everybody's got these blinders on since we got Tyreek Hill. Oh, they're going to be great this year. No, we're not. No, we're not.
He's lost it.
This sounds like a Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
He's lost it.
I can't.
He can't take it
I
anymore.
can't deal with it.
Yeah, to be totally horrendous, I think is impossible if you have Waddle and Tua.
So the floor with Tua is at least like 7 wins.
Yeah.
How many games do they have him for this year? Who knows?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Okay,
if Tua gets hurt,
yes, if you don't have him, they could be horrendous.
cards are it's a nightmare.
No, Ziggy, was there ever a world? Does it cross your mind? Maybe having the Dolphins take somebody like Mike Green instead of a receiver here?
They could. My thinking is that I think Tyreek Hill's out. I think he's the number 1 draft day trade candidate in the entire NFL. I think the Dolphins are getting fed up with him and he's getting fed up with them. And if you do that, the only way the Dolphins have even a decent season next year is if the offense is good. And I think the only way that happens is if Tua has somebody to throw the ball to.
Yeah, I understand.
Jalen Waddle's a good player. Don't get me wrong. You want 2 receivers on that. Otherwise, they're going to be the Cowboys with a worse quarterback and a worse receiver. Is that really what you want?
Literally, yeah.
All right, why don't we continue on here? Zach, how are we doing? How long has this episode been going for?
41 minutes.
All right, I think we're on good track to be about that hour rate. You know what? That's what the show's about right here. As we were saying,
we're on time and we're competent.
Crisp
That's
show.
what we do here.
Punctuality is what we're known for on this show.
That's the motto of the PFS.
Punctuality. We're on
punctuality and focus sustained. That's PFS.
100%. All right, Ziggy, walk us through picks 16 through 20, starting with the trade.
Oh, yeah. That's another logo you may not have been expecting. At number 16, the Cardinals are trading down. The Chargers are trading 22, 86, and 199 to move up and grab the only other, I think, really great receiver in this class. They're sniping Matthew Golden out of Texas to bring in and give Justin Herbert a guy to throw the ball to. At 17, the Bengals, we know they're making a pick on defense. They're getting Nick Emenwari out of South Carolina, trying to recreate some of that magic from a few years ago of their safeties. The Seahawks, not a big surprise here. Interior offensive line, they're taking Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. At 19, the Buccaneers are taking Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. And at 20, the Broncos are adding a big weapon to go with Bro Nix. They're taking Omari Hampton out of North Carolina.
So
Omari Hampton, excuse me.
So
Amarian
knocking out Jihaad Campbell. It sounds like if he doesn't go with the torn labrum, if he does, it is a torn labrum, right, for Jihaad Campbell right now.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why he's falling. But Tampa Bay wants a stud on defense. This is a guy who can both step in and play linebacker and has edge rusher potential. I think that the Buccaneers are going to be thrilled to get a guy who can play all over the defense based on what they want to do.
100%. And I don't understand why. It's weird to me when the draft rolls around and you have someone like Jihaad Campbell, everyone pretty much agrees that he'll be back by August or September and close to 100%, but he's going to fall down the draft day boards because he won't be healthy for the first 6 months of his career. I get that injuries have to weigh on people's minds to
well,
a degree.
He also missed the season opener in 2023 because he needed knee surgery.
No, I understand the injury concerns, but to me, it's just you're getting an absolute dog here at 19. And
the thing about Campbell is I think part of why he's falling, the injury is part of it, but I think most of what it is it's just not clear what he's going to be in the NFL. He played off-ball linebacker, but his instincts weren't great there. He can be a great blitzer, but he's never played that position full time. He's a guy who he can play coverage. He's good at a lot of things and has the potential to be great at many of them, but he's just not elite at anything yet. And in the first round, that can be a tough sell. So I think like Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson a few years ago. Yeah. That's what you're worried about. A guy who it feels like can do everything, but you don't know exactly what he's going to do. That's, I think, the worst outcome you can get from Campbell.
I could see this being a pretty defensive-heavy draft for the Bucs this year. Levante Davis.
All their defensive guys are aging, and the offense will be clicking as long as you got Baker, Mikey and Chrissy.
I mean, no more
Bakey, Mikey, and Chrissy.
no more Devin White. Levante's been there for 25 years.
No, they need a spark there.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, if Levante David plays one more year, he's going to come out in a gold jacket.
So back to 16 here, the trade for the Chargers. I like that, them getting a receiver. I'm a big fan of Ladd. I'm a big fan of building up the offensive line like Harbaugh's done, but they do need some more weapons there. And Matthew Golden, he's 4.29 at the combine. That'll be fun to watch with Justin Herbert.
Though I will keep in mind, he is not a make you miss athlete. He does not play up to that speed. So this is not a pick. I think you don't want to be making it because you're infatuated with the 40 time. But the other thing I worry about too is his ability to block. Ladd McConkey is not a great blocker.
You're not drafting Matthew Golden to block. Yeah. You're not drafting him to block.
No, well, but in the Harbaugh system, you want wide receivers that can block. But this is a guy who can play anywhere among wide receivers. And I think that's going to be critical for a team that's trying to find its identity in the passing game.
Remember watching Texas, Arizona State, who they went to? They had Isaiah Bond. They had a lot of playmakers. Mm-hmm. They went to Matthew Golden on that, 4th and 12, whatever it was, to win the game.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
I love Gray Zabel. I mean, I would turn ESPN Plus.
Really?
I'd turn ESPN Plus every Saturday and watch this guy just bulldoze people out of the way.
It's a monster. Gray Zabel. Absolute monster. And you know what?
I'm going to pretend you're telling the truth.
You need that, though, in Seattle. You really need it because think about what happened to Sam Darnold in weeks 18 and the first round of the playoff. Like, if he gets pressured, Sam's a very good quarterback, and he played excellent last season. But when you start to bug him, think back to that week 4 Packers game. He can make mistakes, and he will make mistakes. If you keep him clean, he's got a deadly arm. He's very accurate. But, I mean, just think about it. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State.
I mean, that's
guard. That sounds like a guy who's made to move
he's
human
got a
beings.
Farming background. He says when he's done with football, he wants to go back to the family
That's a
farm.
monster.
That's a guy you want to
Yeah, that's a monster.
Gray Zabel might. I'll go so far to say I might lock in Gray Zabel for the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame offensive guard.
I already locked him in.
The other thing I love about Gray Zabel and why I think he'll fit in well in Seattle is there's a lot of questions on that offensive line. He can play guard, left or right, or center. He did it all in college.
He can do anything. This man was born to play offensive line.
He also started tackle in college, which I think he probably can't do in the NFL. He only made one start against an FBS team. So, probably not.
I mean,
this is a guy you can put all over the offensive line.
I might go so far to say, if you just put Gray Zabel out there 1-on-5 in front of Sam Darnold, he protects him.
He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. These names: Gray Zabel, Creed Humphrey. You just knew it. Creed Humphrey. Are you kidding me? Quentin Nelson. You listen to these guys talk. You hear about their backgrounds. It's like, yeah, they were born to dominate other men on the. That sounds a little.
Paul, who's going to dominate who tonight? Me or you?
Paul Farrington and Jack Weinberger are not names that were born to dominate.
Robert Ziggy Ziegler is.
Ziggy Ziegler.
Ziggy
Ziegler. That's an electric Darren Sproles-esque player.
Can I ask you a question here, Ziggy?
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, thank you. So you have Matthew Golden here at 16, which I like that. I do like that. You have Denver taking Hampton here at 20. I know that RB1 is a glaring need for this Broncos team. However, was there any consideration, to help out Bo Nix with Sutton being in his final year with a receiver here? Like if Matthew Golden's there at 20 or Abuka or someone like that instead of a running back.
So you want to make the pick here. You're 100% right, Jack. That's going to help Bo Nix the most. But I think the thing that's going to help Bo Nix the most is to have a functional running game. And they did not have a functional running game last year. And I think if they don't get a really talented guy back there, they won't next year either. I mean, Bo Nix and the Sean Payton system in general, they love the RPO. They love the play action. They love being able to misdirect. I think they're going to take a running back in round 1. And this wide receiver class, I think day 2 is really the day to be targeting some of these guys. I think you can feast in day 2 among the wide receivers. I think they're going to be happy to take a wide receiver of their second pick, really get things going around Bo Nix, and count on Sean Payton to coach up the wide receivers with their scheme.
I'll just say, Jack, listening to these questions come at you today, I have to imagine that these are the kind of questions that Socrates or Plato would be asking.
Can we get a round of applause for Jack?
If they were football fans living today, I have to imagine that this is what it would sound like to listen to the great minds.
I taught them what they know.
Just the girlfriend effect.
Maybe.
Could be. She's making me smarter. Potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, let's get going to the next one. I just want to say 10 seconds on the Seahawks, Ziggy. I think it's interesting you have Golden, Emanwari, and Gray Zabel back to back because all of them there are kind of the guys that I would be thinking Seattle has their eye on as their picks approaching, between wanting to give Sam another weapon, top receiver on the board.
10 seconds, Paul.
Okay, 10 more seconds.
20, 21.
Yeah. Emanwari, Mike McDonald, Kyle Hamilton, you got to work with him, try and get another safety built like that. Not that Kyle just grows on trees, but Gray Zabel, Kelvin Banks, offensive line. Okay, let's just go on here. 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now here we go. We get into our teams here, the teams that the show covers a lot. Well, maybe not, actually. I see it looks like a trade here. Go ahead, Ziggy.
Yeah, so, of course, there's not a whole lot of action going on here. But we've got the Steelers. A lot of people have them taking quarterback, but none of the quarterbacks worth taking are available. The Jaxson Dart Super Bowl Steelers are no more. Aaron Rodgers is probably coming. They're taking Kenneth Grant, continuing that defensive player out of Michigan run. 22, since the Cardinals have moved back, they will be selecting Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas. I'm sure we'll get to talk a little bit about that.
Love that.
The Packers. Packers fans are going to say this is impossible, but they're taking a receiver in the first round. I think just because there's not a lot of talent to be found at other positions here, they're picking up Luther Burden out of Missouri. We'll get to talk plenty about that. But there is a trade. Every single person in our comments when we talked about the Vikings said, why are you talking about the Vikings? Everyone knows they're going to trade back. Well, everyone knows they're going to trade back.
God,
and who are they going to trade back with but the Philadelphia Eagles? Because who are the Eagles going to trade up for but a raw, athletic, physical talent on the defensive line? Shamar Stewart, he might as well be wearing a big Post-it note that says Philadelphia Eagles on it. Because this guy's gotten Philadelphia written all over it. So they take advantage of the Vikings. They move up there. They select him. And rounding it out, the Texans have a huge need on the offensive line. After a bad offensive line performance last year, they decided to get rid of all the good players on their offensive line. So it's pretty desperate. They're taking Josh Simmons out of Ohio State.
When we're at the draft in Green Bay and Shamar Stewart goes 10 to the Bears, I'm going to go up to him and be like, these two didn't believe you were going top 10. But I did.
Ziggy, I think I found a player who slipped past our radar.
Okay.
Ibuka?
Jahdae Barron.
Oh, you like him, yeah.
I think
didn't slip past my radar.
If Jahdae Barron is there at 24 and the Vikings trade with Philly, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be pissed
I don't think Jahdae Barron is a first-round pick.
That would be something.
Jahdae Barron does not have the size to play cornerback in the NFL.
Now, that's not a what you think will happen. That's a what you think as far as.
I think both those things are true. I think most NFL teams are going to have him as a second-round pick.
Interesting.
Shamar Stewart.
And that's not crazy. This guy, he doesn't have the arm length. He doesn't have the height. He doesn't have the weight. He doesn't have the speed.
So he hates Jahdae Barron.
Struggled plenty of times. He missed a bunch of tackles. There's things to like about him. I'm not saying he's a bum, but I do not think he's what you're looking for in a first-round cornerback.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to set you off on that.
Shamar Stewart seems like an Eagle.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This guy is he's going to slip because teams are like, I don't know, we need a starter right away. He's so raw. He's going to Philadelphia, and the Eagles will be happy to trade up for him.
I'd be sitting there, and I'd be going, all right, Jahdae, we got Jahdae. I'd be high-fiving. We'll be at the draft. I'll be like, all right, let's get ready to talk to Jahdae, the Minnesota Viking. And then the Eagle. When I heard the Philadelphia Eagles, and I see Shamar Stewart, a guy like that, with that, I'm just going to say it, with that kind of a body, that dude, I would not be happy at all. I'd be furious, actually.
I'm actually pumped to hear the bum 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 bum.
Yeah, in person.
And the Steelers take Jaxson Dart at 21.
Texans taking
is more than anything else. He is the ultimate developmental player. You know what his missed tackle rate in college was?
What was it?
27%. This is how you get 4.5 sacks on 680 pass rush snaps. You can't tackle anybody. I know he's an incredibly athletic player. I know there's a lot of talent. I know he's smart and he's got a bunch of different moves. But at some point, I want to see you produce in college. And I think the Eagles are going to be a guy who can help him mature a lot. I don't mean mature character-wise. I mean just become better at playing football. But if you're a team that needs an edge rusher, you cannot take this player. He's just not going to be that for a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know. The Eagles can afford. The Eagles can afford with their deal. Well, I mean, they do kind of need some edge help to it, like a little bit.
Yeah, but they need, if he's only a rotational player, like a pass rush specialist in year one, that's okay for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're taking Jalen Walker, Mike Green, Abdul Carter, Michael Williams, even like Ezeiruaku out of Boston College, those are guys that you're hoping can be on the field for a lot of snaps.
Ziggy, I do like your Pittsburgh pick here.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, tell me a little more, Jack.
So I like Mason Rudolph. And you can go on any sort of Reddit page you want or Twitter. Every Pittsburgh Steelers fan will agree with me.
What's win like 8 games?
Is Mason Rudolph with George Pickens and DK is going to be solid.
Oh, jeez.
So I like defensive side of the ball here. Cam Hayward, I believe, is like 45 years old.
He's got to be 60s.
Yeah.
He has to be in his 60s.
And we've had success here with taking defensive guys from Michigan. So I do like this pick here. Get a Cam Hayward on the downward spiral. Get some new blood in. Offense is good. Mason took us to the playoffs last time he was there. Now we got DK.
Maybe go get a running back later on in the draft.
Maybe get Bo Scatteraboo at some point.
I love Scatteraboo.
But I like this pick here at 21 for Pittsburgh.
I mean, I think Kenneth Grant is an ideal Cam Hayward replacement. He's a beast in the run game. He still has to develop a little bit in the pass game, but I think the tools are there. He's a big leader. Like, I think this is a guy who can step in. He didn't miss a single game due to injury in college. That's hard to do when you weigh 330 pounds. And he ballooned up to 350 at some points. Like, do you know how hard it is to be 350 pounds and play football and not get hurt?
Oh, I mean, these guys.
He did get hurt a bunch and he played through it. I think this is a guy who you can play early on and who has a lot of room to develop on a Pittsburgh Steelers team that knows how to make offensive or defensive linemen from good to great.
I hear University of Michigan. I hear defense. I hear toughness. I hear Lamar freaking Woodley. And I hear Super Bowl champion.
No, it's a Pittsburgh Steeler. It's a Pittsburgh Steeler pick.
Kenneth Grant's a Pittsburgh Steeler through and through.
This is where they're going to take Jalen Milroe and you're going to go, what?
I will.
What?
Let's get to the pick that every single person watching the show wants.
Wait. But real quick before we get to that one.
Green Bay will be burned to the ground.
Watching. Can we put an ad break right here?
Yeah. No, just for a second. I just wanted to address your two linemen here. I think the Texans makes total sense with Josh Simmons. They need after trading away Laramie Tunsil, they need a replacement there to keep CJ Stroud up. And the Cardinals would be so happy if Kelvin Banks fell to 22 after trading with the Chargers, because I think at 16 that's probably where they would have taken him had they been forced to make a pick. So given the way your mock fell, the Cardinals have to be a huge, I'm not sure what the compensation was there, but that would be a huge win as far as Cardinals fans are concerned for a player.
The Cardinals are adding a third round. They're adding a third round pick and a sixth round pick.
Yeah, I mean, for a team that needs help in a lot of places, getting someone who preseason was a consensus top 5 pick here, I think they'd be thrilled.
And the thing I like about Banks is he can compete with Jonah Williams. I don't know how Jonah Williams is going to be after the injury, and he can go there. He can also play inside. So there's a lot of things the Cardinals can do with their offensive line if he comes in.
Now let's move on to pick 23 here. We'll talk a little bit of Green Bay Packers. Luther Burden III. Now, Packers fans might be sitting back saying, what? We're not taking Jahdae Barron. We're not looking at a Shamar Stewart. We're not looking at a Donovan Ezeiruaku. We're not going after some of these positions in need that we have. How do you respond to them who say, Ziggy, you're out of your mind?
Well, you do have a position in need at wide receiver, actually. We saw it with the Packers last year. I mean, look, it's nice to have a bunch of decent players, but you are in need of a really great player at that position. And ultimately, the question is, and the Green Bay Packers are going to be asking themselves this on draft night, you need players to take the next step on this roster next year. Are you more confident that's going to come on defense on the defensive line? Or are you more confident that's going to come at wide receiver? Now, if everybody were healthy at wide receiver, I would say there, but not everybody's healthy. And I'm not confident that you're going to be able to finish the season with the players they do have. On the other hand, on the defensive line, I know you're tired of hearing this. Lucas Van Ness, efficiency-wise, is very good next year. I think that they can at least be good in the Hafley scheme. But with Christian Watson out, you're not making a draft pick just for this year, and that's not what I'm suggesting. But that makes a position of need. And I think that Luther Burden has a chance to be talented. Let's not forget, didn't miss a single game due to injury during his time in college. This is a guy who knows how to play and knows how to play through injury. This is a guy who's incredibly quick, but also is dominant with the ball, right? He's able to fight through space. Yeah. He's able to make contested catches, but he's also able to be really quick when he gets the ball. He can do jet sweeps. Like, I think he's just a better version of some of the receivers they already have and can step in and be a big threat basically immediately. Like him with Jaden Reed, I don't think that causes problems. I think that makes a strength. And look, yeah, he fumbled a little bit. Yeah, he had some frustrating penalties. I mean, if you turn on the Boston College game, that Boston College game was horrendous. That was his single worst game of his entire career. But unlike certain kinds of wide receivers who we're very familiar with on this show, he admits that he has character issues and says he's going to get over it. That's not exactly what happens in Pittsburgh. So look, obviously there's things to improve. He's not a deep ball threat, but I think this is the guy who can be your short range receiver. He can be a yard after catch weapon. And while he doesn't have exactly the same size, I think he can slot into a Deebo Samuels-esque role for the Packers next year.
Oh, I think Burden was one of the better receivers in the SEC. I do have a question, Ziggy. We talked about this on our last episode. So we both agree that it's really Jordan Love taking that step. If Jordan Love happens to be very, very good with who he currently has, do you think having Luther Burden hires this? How much does it really hire that ceiling? Like, if Jordan Love is fantastic, wouldn't you rather get something you need a little bit more?
No, I totally disagree. You need force multipliers on this Packers offense.
All right.
No, because look, here's the thing I worry about next year for the Packers. In all seriousness, I worry that Jordan Love is going to take that next step forward and play like Packers fans are wanting, and you're going to see the drops come back to kill you. You're going to see the route miscommunications. All those things. The Packers just about led the NFL in drops despite being 20th in pass attempts. Like, this team needs reliable receivers. Can you imagine how frustrating it will be if you see Jordan Love making some of the best throws you'll see out of a quarterback all year and the wide receivers totally blowing it? You saw some of that this year. Part of why Jordan Love was so good on the efficiency stats and it wasn't able to get there was they just didn't have anybody who could take advantage of him when he was playing well. So I agree, Jordan Love, you want him to play better, but every quarterback in the NFL, even Patrick Mahomes, needs guys who can be threats with the ball in their hands, who can actually secure it and do things after the catch. That's how you go from a good offense to a dangerous offense.
So you're saying even Luther Burden can help elevate Jordan Love to the best of his abilities?
I think that Luther Burden is a guy who can catch the ball and produce after it. And the Packers do not have anybody on their roster that can do both of those things currently.
All right, I'll tell you, it's sitting here.
Hey, he's Mr. Ziegler. I'm not gonna go.
For those who are listening, it might not be the same effect, but when you're sitting where I am, when you're sitting where producer Zack is, and you have the greatest mind in football and the greatest mind in mock drafts, going back and forth like this and disagreeing, there is think of an explosion. You have that ripple out immediately, the burst of energy. Like, that kind of hits you, at least it hits me. Like, producer Zack is knocked out right now. You can't see him, but he got knocked out by that energy blast.
He's asleep on the floor.
Yeah, that disagreement wiped him out there.
I also never said I disagreed. I was picking Ziggy's brain here.
I think Ziggy just called you a moron for that.
That was the subtext. That was the worst question.
It sure sounded like
I've ever heard. I deal with college undergraduates all day, every day. I hear bad questions.
If that's the worst question you've ever heard,
he must hear great questions.
I'm a pretty smart guy.
No, Ziggy must just hear great questions all the time.
Incredible questions.
Luther Burden, there are big Luther Burden guys out there in the world right now.
I'm one of them.
Oh, Ziggy clearly is one of them. But the guys who like Luther Burden, man, they love some Luther Burden. And he was supposed to have a bigger year this year than he wound up having. But the potential for, there are some people who think he could be the best receiver in this class. And that's for real.
I mean, I don't think that's especially improbable. I'm worried now. You said potential, and I think Packers fans are freaking out.
Probably.
This is not a guy who hasn't produced in college. This is a guy who had a little bit of a disappointment.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he was supposed to be unbelievable. He still wound up with 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're not projecting that this guy can play at the NFL level. He didn't have. I mean, he had 700 yards this year and 9 touchdowns. You'd like to see a little bit more. But his year last year in 2023 was so good.
Ziggy,
like that sophomore season was unbelievable.
If he was playing at Ole Miss with Jaxson Dart, he would have had
one slight piece of pushback that I just wanted to ask you about. Because if Luther Burden was there for the Vikings, and I think he will be, that's someone who has my attention as well, just to pair with Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. Whenever you get these guys that are explosive with the ball in their hands, I want guys who can score every time they touch the football. Luther Burden's like that. What I did want to ask you, though, is will Packer fans sit back and say, yeah, that's great, but we already have like a guy who's really good in the slot in Jaden Reed here. What we're missing is that X receiver that Christian Watson was supposed to be, the deep threat. Luther Burden, I know he's got great speed. He runs a 4.4, but does he necessarily fill the role that the Packers need at wide receiver?
This is a bad draft to be the Packers. I know you want the X receiver. There is no X receiver in this draft. Ted McMillan's probably an X receiver.
Ted McMillan, yeah.
There is nobody at the position they want. But the thing is, I mean, wide receiver positions are a thing. I'm not denying that. But guys can be more flexible than you might think in terms of the positions they play. Mm-hmm. If you can put out a talented wide receiver, they will find a way to succeed wherever you put them. That's just how it is, right? If a guy's incredible with the ball in his hands, and Luther Burden is the kind of guy you can scheme things up to, right? Like with Luther Burden, you're able to have him in the run game. You're able to have him on the jet sweeps. There's a lot you can do. You will find a way to get him the ball and succeed.
Let's move on. All right, let's wrap it up here. We got our final few picks. This is where this draft really begins to get impressive, is because you're looking at Super Bowl contenders here. You're good, Zach.
They call me Mr. 32 because I always get the 32nd pick right.
But you're looking at the Super Bowl contenders here.
I'm usually asleep by this point in the draft.
Getting a lot of people that raise some eyebrows. Like there's a lot of talented dudes here going late in this first round. And when you see Walter Nolan going to the Bills at pick 30, there's probably some Jets and Dolphins fans and Patriots fans going, "Are you kidding me?" Like Walter Nolan, some people think he could go top 12. So
there's always players that fall.
Yeah, why don't you walk us through here 26 to 30, starting with the Rams.
Rams cornerback Trey Amos, pretty straightforward pick. They're just trying to build on that defense. The Ravens, I think the Ravens want a safety here. Ooh. And they're putting together the all-time Notre Dame safety duo of Xavier Watts of Kyle Hamilton. Look, I've said it. I don't like Malachi Starks. I think he is Lewis Cine Part 2. I do not buy this player. Xavier Watts of the Ravens in their zone-heavy schemes, getting some freedom, being able to play free safety and let Kyle Hamilton do the chess piece weapon thing. He's the guy who can actually do that. Those two guys, their instincts, their ball hawking abilities, they will terrorize the AFC North. Like that'd be the scariest safety duo, I think, in the entire NFL.
I love Xavier Watts, Ziggy. The moment that he came in, he played a little receiver too when he first came to Notre Dame. And I remember watching him as a freshman, and he just had unbelievable ball skills. Like he throughout his entire career.
I've never seen it.
Throughout his entire career, he always finds the football. Now, a lot of people will think this is an overdraft because he's closer to probably the 40 to 50th ranked prospect for a lot of people. But Xavier Watts,
so good of the Ravens if they can get him.
I'm telling you, there are guys that are just great football players. They make big plays when they have to. So him creeping up into the first round with Kyle, like you said, and this would be, a lot of interceptions, a lot of big plays in that Baltimore secondary.
I mean, how many nights you spent in this guy Watts' dorm? My Lord.
All right, finishing out these picks, we've got the Lions adding an edge rusher here, a guy who they're hopeful can
love that.
Improve that defensive line, going in with Donovan Ezeiruaku here. The run on defensive linemen continues. James Pierce Jr. going to the Commanders. And finishing it out, as you said, it's a big talent addition in Buffalo. Walter Nolan is going to stop falling and go to the Buffalo Bills.
Look at a couple Ole Miss defensive players here in the first round.
Yeah, like
you don't see that every day.
Ole Miss team was talented.
Oh yeah,
Jaxson Dart. It's too bad he was holding them back the whole season. It could have really been something.
I guess he was.
I'm torn between him and Derek Harmon. I've seen some people say Nolan's way better. I've seen people say Harmon's way better. They're very different kinds of players. I'd be interested in adding either of them.
I mean, Nolan's another guy who you could see going in that top 15 of the draft. James Pierce as well is someone who like a lot of these dudes here now, you're getting into people who could easily be top 20 picks. It all depends just on how these teams will ultimately wind up viewing them. Donovan Ezeiruaku, I don't know why, Ziggy, but I have a feeling he might be a Green Bay Packer at the end of this. I don't like 6'4". He fits
there's
into
no
that.
chance he's a Green Bay. But the Packers are not going to take an undersized edge rusher. That's just not what they do.
You know who does though? The Lions.
Dude,
the
Detroit.
Lions will see this guy and they will see a dog. Right? This is a guy who's athletic, who's bendy, who's a character, who's durable. Led the country in sacks per game this year. Tied the Boston College single season sack record.
He
like
had
he is
16,
a dog.
right? He was right behind Mike Green.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean,
he was very, very, very good.
Also, coming to such an elite football program there in Boston College as well.
Well, this
Yeah.
is yeah. Well,
There's
that's
no doubt
the
about
thing
it.
though.
And plus, I mean, the Lions don't need defensive. They don't need their number one edge rusher. They just need a guy who can step in and take advantage of when your number one guy gets double teamed.
I like it.
Well, that's the thing about Ezeiruaku and Mike Green. We're talking about guys, really, really productive guys, 16 and a half and 17 sacks, who just didn't get on TV a lot. Like you didn't see them that much because of where they went to school. So I wonder, I wonder if it would be a little different. Of course, these scouts do so much research, so much work, but they didn't have the exposure that the Georgia guys like Michael Williams and why can't I remember his name right now? Walker. That these guys had here. So I think that plays into it a little bit, depending on how far they fall. But these are good football players.
Here's why I think he makes sense of the Lions. The Lions have their defensive linemen. They've got the dominant edge rusher. You need a guy who's quick, who's athletic, and if you single team him, can punish you. And I think that's who Ezeiruaku is. I also think he's more of like he's going to be a guy who's primarily a pass rusher. Like I don't think he's going to be, especially early on, he needs to get bigger. The Lions are okay with that.
That's really funny. I was saying Javon Walker. When I was thinking Jalen Walker, the old Packer receiver, Javon Walker, that popped into my head.
Similar. Wait, Paul,
okay.
so when you talk about exposure, are you saying that you don't watch ACC Network at 2:00 on Saturdays?
Not like you. No, that's the difference between me and you. Most of what you hear out of me is just nonsense, and from Jack, it's astute, it's analytical, it's researched.
Get used to it.
Get used to it. All right. Let's go on to the last two picks here in the Robert Ziggy Ziegler mock draft 1.0. The former two-time champion.
Wait, the Vikings didn't win the Super Bowl? What are they doing there?
Could you know what? If you had told me 3 months ago that this is how Ziggy's mock draft ended,
Chiefs,
I would have been really, really excited.
Through the roof.
You son of a bitch.
Unfortunately, the Vikings got here by trading back.
I like
that's
Thomas.
how things work. At 31, unsurprisingly, Derek Harmon is going to be slotting into Kansas City. They're going to be excited. And cornerback here, I mean, there's a lot of players I looked at. I looked at Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. I looked at Hairston out of Kentucky. Jahdae Barron out of Texas.
Jahdae Barron will go.
Best about.
He will be drafted earlier.
I like
the player. The player. I'm take a stand here. The player I feel best about at cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings is Azariah Thomas out of Florida State.
He's who I talked about in the last episode. I like this guy. Physical.
Yeah. Look. Is there any reason that? Do you have any?
Why do I like Thomas?
Yeah.
I think Thomas is an incredibly effective blitzer. He's the guy that is going to be able to slot into this defense that loves blitzing. And he's instinctive. He's a great zone defender. He's a big athlete.
6'1", 200.
I get that he's not the fastest guy. I get that he doesn't play slot. But with the Vikings, they ask their cornerbacks to be quick, to get after the quarterback, and to move all over. And I think of the guys available here, Azariah Thomas is going to be the best at doing that.
I have nothing. I like Azariah Thomas. I love when you get those 6'1", those big cornerbacks. Reminds me of like Xavier Rhodes and what we used to do.
Also, he's able to cover big, long receivers down the field.
Yeah,
which is what he's done.
I mean, that's what Jahdae Barron can't. Jahdae Barron's tiny.
Yeah, but Jahdae Barron, I mean, dude, he can play. Like we shouldn't make it sound like he won the Thorpe Award. He's 4-3.
Johnny Barron is going to get obliterated by NFL wide receivers.
I like Thomas better than Barron.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that cornerback is the biggest area of need for the Vikings, who, Byron Murphy, re-signing him was huge. But outside of Byron, there's really no proven commodity there. And, I shouldn't say commodity. I don't like when there's no proven dude there.
Proven quantity.
Sure. Or person. There's no proven player at corner other than Byron
These guys
Murphy.
are numbers.
But there is none other than Byron. So I mean, there are guys that I think have a lot of potential and guys that I like. But if you could slot in another dude as the secondary cornerback, then I'd be very comfortable. And if it's a dude who can play, and we wind up having Byron and Ezeiruaku Thomas who comes in and can be a dog, now all of a sudden I think that defense can be one of the top 5 in football. And I'd be very, very happy with that selection.
This is a Brian Flores pick. This is who it is. That's why I've got him going here to the Minnesota Vikings. I think we're going to fall in love with him. We will see what happens, of course, but this guy can play.
Maybe Jalen Milrow here.
Teams scored a lot of points against Florida State last year, but it wasn't against this guy.
Yeah.
He was locking up his man.
Yeah, I do have to say, taking someone from one of the worst football teams you've ever seen in your life raises some eyebrows.
He was locking up his man.
No, there were so many problems at Florida State. Ziggy, I like this. I think this was a very good mock draft. The only thing I disagree with is Jaxson Barron will 100% be a first round pick, but I think
Shamar's going top 10. Other than that, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what you thought if you watched this. Did you like your team's pick? What was the single worst pick I made? There's going to be on draft night. There's going to be some set of circumstances that make me look like an idiot. You predict what that's going to be.
Yeah, I think this was very good. Just fitting to start the show as we ended with producer Zack just buried in his phone on
sleeping.
text. And,
yep.
I think whoa, this is incredible.
I'm doing my
let's do producer Zack.
Producer Zack impersonation.
Well, what's incredible is I don't think I missed a step tonight. I don't think I missed a step, and I'm out here catching fucking strays.
No, you're a great multitasker. We just want to flag that you are multitasking.
Catching strays.
It's not strays. We're saying you're doing your job while doing other things too.
Yeah.
It's very talented.
Yeah, we're saying the mock draft show, or the mock draft portion ended like a minute and a half ago, and it's still the Chiefs Vikings on the screen.
There you go. That's better. You know why I did that? So Ziggy didn't have to move. Because if we go back
I
to here,
appreciate that, producer Zack.
look, see now Ziggy's got to move. If I go back to here, Ziggy's off screen.
It did look burdensome. It did, and that's the thing. I apologize.
If you go back far enough, there is a clip of me yelling at Ziggy.
I apologize, producer Zack. Producer Zack is always thinking of others. So you know what? That's me thinking about how the show looks and not about how Ziggy feels. And I apapologize, Ziggy. I apologize, Zack.
Just a clip of, or if we just had a one-up of Jack and Ziggy, I'd have that up the whole time.
Yeah. Wait.
Same, Zack.
Right,
same.
Well, it's those
are our most handsome. It's like our most handsome dudes.
You're a pretty sexy guy.
And we'll be announcing our plans for the NFL draft, how we're going to come out, what fan events there will be.
I'm buying a Packers jersey out there, baby.
Really?
Packers jersey.
I mean, Jordan Love will probably be at the draft, right?
I'll be out drinking Wisconsin.
I doubt it. Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's
a huge Packers event, right? Like it's in Green Bay.
I loved hanging out with Jordan.
Maybe we can get Jordan Love to sign a Paul Farrington show shirt.
That would be pretty cool.
How about $100 for anyone who can outdrink Jack?
Well, we can't afford that.
How much money would I be losing?
You would be getting structured
that would take
out.
Our combined net worths and then
that could wind up being a pretty big video, though, if we had you getting structured out of the draft.
I would have to be stretched out.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up right here. Producer Zack, great job today. Appreciate you. Ziggy, excellent job on the mock draft. Jack, just fantastic.
Astute question. Just truly astute.
Philosophical.
Yeah.
A+ for participation.
Incredible knowledge from you. And I have to say, I always feel like I learned something.
More than half the battle showing up.
Yeah.
And I was here today.
You were here today and you were informative. So take that to anyone who dislikes Jack. Take that. We will see you back next week, early next week, on the Paul Farrington Show.